Welcome to the Dr. Diane Show, where we explore revolutionary expansion of mind, body, and soul with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. With over 20 years of expertise as a mindset warrior, perspective shifter, and unshakable optimist, I am dedicated to helping you reach your wildest dreams in business, health, performance, and relationships. Learn about the power of thought and how it shapes your life to take risks, change careers, find love, go on adventures, and live passionately with me, Dr. Diane. Get ready for revolutionary ways of thinking, being, and creating an amazing life. The Dr. Diane Show starts now. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Diane Hayden, and you are listening to the Dr. Diane Show on Transformation Talk Radio. Stay with us for the next hour, where we will explore revolutionary expansion of mind, body, and soul. Each week on the Dr. Diane Show, we will have experts from around the country discussing cutting-edge topics on longevity medicine, natural health, mindset, and soul purpose to help you shift your perspective and become a mindset warrior like me. This week, I'm excited to welcome Tom Paladino. He's a scalar energy researcher based in Florida who began research with scalar energy during his undergraduate years. Inspired by various scientists, especially Nikola Tesla, he was curious to learn more about the existence of an energy that was not of the electromagnetic spectrum. He pursued a course of independent study in order to better understand and subsequently harness scalar energy, as this emerging science is not taught at the university level. Based on these theories and the work of scientists who came before him, Tom was able to develop scalar energy instruments capable of harnessing and transmitting instructive energy to heal human subjects remotely. You can think of this as similar to a radio broadcast, with instruments as the broadcaster and your body as the receiver. The difference is that the energy transmitted is not electromagnetic and is therefore immeasurable by traditional science. So welcome, Tom. How are you today?
I am well. It's a pleasure to be back, Doctor. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, we've done a couple of shows, and I always like to start off with a little bit of some background so that people understand, for those of who are listening today, who've probably maybe never heard of scalar energy before. So let's just, let's start there. Tell us, where does scalar energy originate? And if you can kind of describe what that is.
Okay, scalar energy is sunlight, it's starlight. And frankly, everybody in the world is an expert at this science, even though people don't realize their expertise. What am I getting at? Well, any action in the universe is governed by this energy, scalar energy. What am I getting at? Light. Light is fundamental. Scalar light is from the sun, the stars. And this fundamental light is responsible for all life, for all thinking, for all action. Now, it's the main energy, it's the primary energy of the universe, whereas electricity and magnetism are an offshoot or subdivision or a derivative of scalar energy. So it's so important to realize that there's a cause and effect relationship in the universe, and the cause of everything is scalar energy. Whereas electricity and magnetism as the subset energy has its play, but that's only a secondary effect. So we're working with life force energy. We're working with the primal cause. We're working with the first cause, or the first principle. Scalar energy is known as consciousness, prana, 0-point energy, life force energy. It's the main driver. It's the primary energy of everything. So once we understand that this topic, we're working with the cause of nature, scalar energy is the cause of nature, then we realize, and hopefully people will match my excitement, if you can control scalar energy, you can control nature.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because as you were talking, I was just thinking, could we liken it to basically how plants grow? And
Yes.
Like the energy that's transmitted from the sun, and you're also saying the stars, basically to create these things on, in nature. Like when you look at, let's say, a mountainside, and you see this green thing that's literally growing out of a crack in
Yes.
what seems like all granite, right? Or
Yes.
all rock. It's like, how is that even happening?
Yes. My predecessor, a man by the name of Hieronymus, grew plants in the dark with scalar energy instruments. He performed an experiment. He planted seeds in his basement. The basement was pitch black. He covered the windows. There was no what I would consider visible light in that basement. And he ran, if you will, scalar energy wires into the potted plants. And he grew his plants with a scalar energy instrument, proving that the main cause, the primary cause of photosynthesis has to be scalar energy. Whereas electromagnetic energy still has a secondary effect, but it's not the main driver. The cause is always scalar energy. Now, what does that mean to us? Well, we're not going to get rid of electricity and magnetism. That's part of the equation. I propose we accentuate the main energy, which is scalar energy. Why accentuate an inferior energy, electricity, when you can accentuate a superior energy, scalar energy? So going back 100 years ago, Nikola Tesla, many of you understand and resonate with his concepts. Nikola Tesla, the great inventor, was the first man to control scalar energy. And when he controlled scalar energy, he developed a car that could maneuver under the influence of the stars. He had an engine that worked on star power, not on gasoline. Tesla was able to transmit energy by way of a scalar energy tower and illuminate light bulbs. Now, all of that speaks to mind of this energy from the stars, from the sun, that is unlimited. This is an unlimited energy, and that's where we're going with this. It's a new era of energy generation, and the power is from the stars.
Yeah, it's really amazing when you think about it, and just, the fact that this is, like you said, available to us all. And yet we're kind of in the dark ages, still paying for electricity and turning lights on and feeling like, that is our only source of energy or light. And, what you're saying is this whole other field out there, essentially, that's available to us. How do you use it in your work? I think we're going to talk about a lot of research that you've been doing, and your most recent study over in India, and I'm excited to get to that. But I want to also kind of set it up so that people can understand this, because I think the concept is kind of nebulous. Like, okay, now we understand, okay, it's how nature is created and it's coming from, the sun and the stars. But how do you use it in your practice?
I've developed scalar energy instruments. In order to have this scientific control, you have to have a scientific instrument. I have scalar energy instruments, and those instruments allow me to control this energy spectrum. And once you can do that, then you have, if you will, this entrance, you have this pathway to this dimension of scalar energy. So the ability to control a movement of electrons is an electrical current. We are now controlling scalar energy, which is the presence, this omnipresence, if you will. And in so doing, we can do incredible things with a scalar energy instrument. It commands, it controls nature. That's the key.
So you essentially will work via someone's photograph.
Yes. Now, follow me on this. This is not electricity. So people will email me a photograph. This photograph has my force field attached to it. Any photograph is a signature of light. Light is definitive. Light is a fundamental source. And my photograph represents me. So I will actually take an emailed photograph and place it inside a scalar energy instrument. And hence I have immediate connection to my force field. So what I am working with is non-biological, it's non-physical. It's a force field. This is not a physical energy, it's an information system. And when I send energy into a person, I send energy into their aura or into their spirit. There is an aura, there is a force field. Call it a force field, call it spirit energy. It's non-physical. So this is the new dimension that we're going to be working with. We don't work with electrons and protons. We don't work with physical matter. We work with information. The quantum field.
Right. So essentially, you have someone's photograph, and you put it into your device or machine, we'll call it.
Yes.
And essentially you're sending this information to that person's, I call it an energy field that's all around their body. And so now this person's energy field takes that information and then does with it what.
But the instruments can perform a function. We can instruct the instruments to perform a certain function. For instance, if I were to place a magnified photograph of riboflavin into the instrument would look at the molecular structure of riboflavin and then recreate that in a person in the human energy field. So this photograph would produce that molecular structure, which is riboflavin. In other words, a photograph of riboflavin would tell all of the elements in the body, carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, to assemble in that molecular structure. It's an information system. Now, why is that important? Well, there's no guesswork. If I want riboflavin, I simply tell my instrument to look at this photograph and then reproduce it. So this is the perfect delivery system of riboflavin by light. The instrument would look at that molecular structure and then download that into each cell, into the quantum field. Now, this is not a biological process. In other words, we're instructing the human body to create riboflavin. We don't eat it, we don't drink it. It's not a pill, it's not a protein drink. It's all delivered by light. And when you can deliver something by light, it's the perfect delivery system. I say this frequently, light is fundamental. Light does not lie. Light cannot make a mistake. Light is fundamental. It always achieves its end. So you can depend upon light. It's the perfect tool.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So essentially, well, I know this because we've talked about this a lot, but you don't really even need to know what's necessarily wrong with a person.
Right.
You're not diagnosing or anything like that.
Right. Exactly.
Yep. So you are essentially, let's just say, putting in there certain things like nutrients, like what you just said. So it's sending the message of what is the perfect signature for this nutrient, and it's teaching your body to basically recreate that on its own. Yes.
The instrument does all the work. The intelligence does all the work to accentuate that. I'm not a physician, not a nurse, not an exercise physiologist. I don't have Diane's background. My background is that of a scalar energy researcher. This is a new science. Now, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I don't think I have any peers. And that's not by choice. I don't think anybody in the world is duplicating my results because nobody has my instruments. So this protocol of working with photographs of nutrients is my protocol. So this is new. It's groundbreaking. You've never heard of this before. I understand.
And it's fascinating. It is fascinating. You're listening to the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will explore more with Tom Paladino and Scalar Light. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back on the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. But before we continue, I want to make sure everyone knows how to reach out to me. You can find me at www.drdianehayden.com or at either of my two publications, www.naturalnutmeg.com and www.essentialnaples.com. And you can find more info on Tom Paladino and Scalar Light at www.scalarlight.com. That's SCALARLIGHT.com. So welcome back, Tom. We are talking about some fascinating stuff here. We were basically explaining, how does the machine work with the photograph, and basically it's sending information to the individual's energy system pretty much. And that energy system is then taking the information and integrating it into the body for perfect health, really.
Right. Correct. To me, it's the perfect delivery system of a nutrient on account of the fact you don't have to rely upon the bloodstream or any type of enzymatic process. You simply create riboflavin. That's great. I would much rather create a nutrient than have to depend upon it by some metabolic process. So what are we getting at? If we can do that for one person, then we eventually can do that for 100 people by way of a collage. Today in my laboratory, I work with 500,000 people. I have photographs from people around the world. I'm working with collages around the world. So where am I going with this? Well, on account of the fact you don't have to visit a laboratory or a clinic or an office, we can work with people around the world. Today, I'm working with 500,000 people. This is a global healing ministry. This is a global enterprise. And the day is coming where I want to work with hundreds of millions of people every year by this new process.
Yeah, it's just amazing, really, when you think about, the numbers of people that you can reach. And I have a gazillion questions for you, but before we get to that, specifically, you were telling me about a trial that you've been doing in India, and I want to make sure we talk about that because these results are nothing less of amazing. So
Yep.
Talk about the clinic that you're working with and the participants and what you've been finding.
There's a clinic in Delhi, India. It's known as the Om Prakash HIV/AIDS Clinic. And we've been working with people who are HIV positive in Delhi, India. This is one of the photographs from the clinic. And long and short of it is, we've already worked with, say, 1,000 people who are HIV positive in Delhi, India. Now, everybody, again, sends their photograph. I've never been to India, by the way. So by way of a person's photograph, we can identify on a person's photograph now, on their force field, we can identify the presence of the HIV virus and eradicate it, remove it. It's an energy signal. You simply negate the energy signal of HIV and it ceases to exist. After working with over 1,000 people from this clinic, Om Prakash in Delhi, India, these people are feeling better. Those who have a follow-up PCR test, those tests are proving to be HIV undetectable. Everybody that we've worked with in Delhi, India is feeling better. Those who are inclined to have an HIV PCR test conducted, there's no viral load.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. So what led you to India and to this particular clinic?
First of all, many people in Asia are very open to energy healing or energy quantum physics. They grew up with this. Now, keep in mind, and this is no slight on anybody, but it's their culture. Many people in India observe prana, observe consciousness. This is what they grew up with. And they're really akin to that type of modality or that type of thinking. And we now have agents. We have Christian missionaries, non-government organizations around the world that we're working with. And we were introduced to this HIV/AIDS clinic probably back in 2017 and 2018. And we worked with them for 2 years prior to the pandemic with great results. And now we've regrouped after the pandemic, and the results continue to be stellar. So after 4 years of working with people at this HIV/AIDS clinic, the results speak volumes. And the volumes are that people feel better and that everybody who's had a subsequent PCR test, the test is HIV negative or no detectable viral load.
Wow, that's just amazing. Do you think that people need to continue to be treated, so to speak? Or so once, and I want you on a previous show, you did explain how does it actually work where you can eradicate the virus. So I want to talk about that because it has to do, I think people be interested just to know what's actually happening. And you explained that to me with the molecular bond and all of that. But so you're saying basically, one treatment or however long you've been doing the treatment for them, once they are HIV negative, you don't see that coming back. Correct.
So any virus is held together, especially the base pairs, by hydrogen bonds. If my two fingers represent a hydrogen bond, and we can break apart that hydrogen bond, well, the genome falls apart. So that's what we're doing. We're instructing scalar energy to break apart the genome. And once the genome of the HIV virus shatters, fragments, it's no longer a viable virus. It's been reduced into proteins. So you take an infectious agent, HIV, you fragment it into proteins. It's no longer a viable microorganism. And that's what we do. You can do that easily with scalar energy. This is the tool, this is the reach of scalar energy, energy that can actually control the molecular geometry of anything.
So that was my next question, actually. Really, with any kind of virus, you can do this.
Yes.
Because that's how viruses are basically held together through this bond.
Yeah.
So as long as you pull that apart,
yes.
and it breaks apart the genome, then it can't kind of write itself, I guess is what I'm trying to say, or recode itself or whatnot and start the virus again.
Exactly. Once you shatter those hydrogen bonds, the genome falls apart and it's reduced into proteins or elements, and it cannot regroup. So this is the easy way to break down the covalent bonds, the hydrogen bonds of any virus. You reduce it into its constituent components, and the virus ceases to exist. I don't care if it's HIV, the rhinovirus, herpes virus, it doesn't matter.
COVID?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I know we've had that conversation.
and I'll speak to that. Why COVID-19? It's no different. The hydrogen bonds of COVID-19 are no different than the HIV virus. So, let's take the mystery out of this. Science is, follows rules, properties. I'm following the laws of science. And whether those laws of science apply to the HIV virus or the COVID-19 virus, it's still a scientific process. This is what I enjoy about my research. I work with light and only light. Light is fundamental. Light always obeys the laws of science. So there's no avenue for human weakness or human error. I've removed human error. There's no person acting here. It's 100% a light treatment. Hence, I can guarantee that the outcome will be 100% conversant, pursuant to that approach.
Have you worked with other types of, I guess, illnesses, let's just say, so that aren't viral, like something, that might be metabolic or even cancer, anything like that you found?
Not cancer. Cancer is a different instrument. I'm asking God for the wisdom to recreate a perfect genome or to correct a mutation. So cancer is going to be something different. I'm not able to correct the human genome.
Right.
Not now.
Yep. Yeah. So it just works in terms of a virus, a bacteria, I would imagine.
Yep.
Fungus, that kind of thing. Anything that you can take the molecular bond apart.
Yep.
Yeah. Fascinating. Fascinating. So, so these results are just amazing with this clinic that you've been working with. What about other, I guess any other like particular case study that you can think of that was really fascinating?
I work with a lot of people around the world who have herpes. Now, herpes 1, oral herpes, or herpes 2, as they call it, genital herpes, those viruses per se are with you for life. They can be attenuated, but you always have those. Nonetheless, people come to us with herpes 1, herpes 2 infection. We do work under the same protocol with light, scalar light instruments, by way of a person's photograph. After we work with people, whether it's herpes 1, herpes 2, if they have a follow-up PCR test, the test results come back negative. No viral load. No, that's a definitive term, undetectable. So, you can't say cured in the medical community, and that's fine. I respect the medical community. I don't work within that framework of medicine. I work with a new science, and I simply say that I negate the molecular bonds of viruses. And whether it's HIV or herpes, we can do that. Now, keep in mind, you take, say, herpes 1, which is oral herpes, can be shared by way of a drinking cup. And that herpes 1 has been implicated in neurological impairment. In other words, herpes 1 can pass the blood-brain barrier. And herpes 1 has been associated with people who have Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. And that stands to reason because we realize that herpes 1 is neuroinvasive. It will invade, it will attack a nerve, including a neuron, and will cause some type of impairment.
Yeah, that really is just fascinating when you think about all these different types of viruses and how effective this is. And literally, once you've essentially broken these bonds apart, then someone doesn't have to worry about that anymore.
Yes, exactly. The symptoms abate.
Yeah, that really is amazing. More people definitely need to know about this for sure. So we're going to take another quick break. You're listening to the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. When we come back, we'll be talking more about scalar light with Tom Paladino. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back on the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden, and I'm talking today with Tom Paladino of Scalar Light. You can learn more about him at www.scalarlight.com. That's SCALARLIGHT.com. And Tom offers a 15-day trial to anyone interested who wants to experience the benefits of his Scalar Light standardized program. So, Tom, how would people go about getting that information to you to sign up for the trial? Just go to the website or?
Yeah, our website is scalarlight.com. I want that to be a focal point. Why? This is a new science. You're not going to read about my work in any scientific journal because it's groundbreaking. It's never been established yet. This is new. So visit the website scalarlight.com. In order to introduce this to people, everybody in the world is entitled to 15 days of free sessions. You're going to email us your photograph and perhaps family members and your pets. Include your pets. Your pets are a great barometer as to the efficacy of these sessions. And in so doing, for 15 days, we balance your brain waves, we balance your chakras, we'll identify microbes, germs, and eliminate the microbes. And then we'll also work with you on your nutrients. We'll assemble nutrients for 15 days in a row. So the upshot is most people feel better. So try it. It's a new process. If you've never heard of this before, there's no chagrin. Don't be uneasy about that. It is new. It's my process, and I'm trying to introduce this to the world.
Absolutely. Yeah. What do you think the future of scalar energy is, and how is it going to change the world for the better? I mean, I'm asking you that question and I'm already thinking, wow, it already has with what you're doing with your research and these people in India. But if you can kind of think towards the future, what would you say?
It's free energy, and free energy will liberate mankind. Now, consider any economic model. You always have to consider scarcity. There's a scarcity of resources, labor, capital, money. Scalar energy is no shortage of stars. Scalar energy floods the universe. And if we look back at the illustrious career of Nikola Tesla, who developed scalar energy instruments, he had a car that ran on scalar energy, star power. He could maneuver this car and accelerate and deaccelerate at will. Well, why aren't we using star power for our cars? Here we are in the midst of an energy crisis. Why don't we go back, revisit what Nikola Tesla did, create a car that operates on the sun and the stars, that energy pervades the atmosphere, and solve the energy crisis? Why aren't we using this energy? Well, that's a political question.
I was going to say.
We'll get to that some other day.
Yeah. It's really fascinating. And there's, there are a lot of interesting, paths to go down in terms of answering why we're not using it. I think there's definitely some movement as to, there's reasons behind why we're not using it. And essentially it's all based, like you said, politics and money. Yeah. But it is pretty amazing when you think about, wow, with this, I almost feel like, why are we still living in the dark ages? Literally, it's like, having this type of energy available, it really should be available to everybody. We should be taught this. We should learn how to use it. And it has just, massive implications, from so many different standpoints, from people's health, from energy, cost savings, money, all of that. It really is just mind blowing.
It is. It's mind boggling. If you look at electricity, it's a source of energy, and it has made our lives better. Scalar energy is free energy. So its application is it's a fraction of what electricity is. And then you don't need wires. Scalar energy is a wireless transmission of energy. You don't need cables and substations. You just transmit it through the atmosphere. And it's perfectly safe. So it will change society. A scalar energy, once scalar energy is embraced, will change everything about society. Industry, education, medicine. It's the coup de grace.
Yeah, definitely. And it's been around for a while. So who are some of the other researchers and physicists? You've talked a little bit about Nikola Tesla. I think people would like to learn more about the gentleman that you learned from.
Yeah, Hieronymus. He was an electrical engineer by trade. One of the first radio engineers in the United States. This is dating back. Galen Hieronymus was born in 1895. But during his career, his illustrious career, he developed scalar energy instruments, and the United States government and the British government gave him a patent on his scalar energy instrument. And Galen was able to grow plants in the dark with scalar energy. Galen was able to actually create a levitating instrument that would levitate with scalar energy, overcoming gravity, meaning that if we would have applied that, we would have had levitating transportation, anti-gravity transportation. Galen Hieronymus was able to rid a farm field of pests, of bugs with scalar energy. He's such an illustrious career, but he's a minor footnote in scientific history because his work has never been realized, and there is some type of active suppression against this type of research.
Yeah, well, just like we said, that makes perfect sense. It's, when you're in the field of natural medicine, like I've been for so long, you also realize that there's suppression on that whole industry. And reason being, it's because honestly, if you get people healthy, then you can't make money off of them. So, so it's like the pharmaceutical companies don't want that. Like, I think our whole healthcare system doesn't want it, really, because when you think about like everything from hospitals to, all of the testing, all of that, we wouldn't need any of that.
Yeah, it's a shame. So this is a game changer. We need a paradigm shift. I think many people are open to this new technology, and the bottom line are results. So watch my results over the next few years and judge me by my results. Talk is cheap. I believe in results. Watch what happens to this HIV/AIDS clinic in Delhi, India. We're on our way to treating now 2,000 people. We've already treated 1,000 people with great results. And there's 5,000 or 6,000 people who've agreed to be treated. So it's just a matter of time of getting their collage. They're sending us collages every week. So if we work with 5,000 people in Delhi, India successfully, and nobody has HIV anymore, I would say that would be a headline news story someday in the future.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So we were also talking at one point about how scalar light can work with the chakras, and it basically can balance them.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
So if scalar energy is the mover, the driver behind everything, it's the main cause of thinking or of our dream state. And scalar energy instruments have been shown to improve our memory, enhance our memory, and improve our cognitive function, and, if you will, deepen our sleep state or balance our 7 chakras. So I do believe we all have 7 chakras. Obviously, we have brain waves. And how do you impart information upon those chakras and brain waves? By a scalar energy instrument. Chakras are composed of scalar energy. Hence, a scalar energy instrument will make a favorable impression upon the chakras. Okay, so this is the scalar energy pathway from instrument to chakras. So yes, a scalar energy instrument is the tool to balance and recalibrate our 7 chakras. What are chakras? They're information points. Again, scalar energy is pure information. It's pure intelligence. It's non-physical. And if we can correct and reprogram, recalibrate those 7 chakras, well, my goodness, then that leads to proper spiritual, mental, psychological health.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. So that, I think what people might be able to relate to is essentially like acupuncture or even Reiki, energy work that that you do essentially is balancing chakras or balancing meridians and things like that. But it works the same way. You're using someone's photograph, or you're always doing it via that way. Right. And you're basically putting into your machine as well, like what is, let's say, balanced chakra.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Exactly. So imagine it, an information system that can balance the chakras. We've always, prayer and meditation balances the chakras. Why? That's scalar energy. Anytime you pray, you're creating a scalar energy force field.
Oh, that makes I'm glad you said that, because that makes perfect sense. I think a lot of people will be able to relate to that. Similarly, I think meditation, right? So you basically are bringing that energy into your energy body, essentially. And it's the same thing. Like it's whether you want to call it communicating or channeling or bringing that information in. Again, I mean, there's so many studies now with meditation and what it's doing for the body. It's just amazing. I mean, crazy things I'm hearing from all different, types of practitioners that are doing meditation research. So it's, similar to that in the sense, and you're just working with a more physical machine, I guess.
Yes.
And right. But at the same time, it's still using a photograph, and it's still basically sending energy or information to that person.
Correct. The consciousness that somebody who's prayerful or has meditation, that's their grasp of consciousness. Great. I have a consciousness instrument. So I am proving scientifically that consciousness exists. And what we always have theorized about prayer, meditation, chakras is indeed now embodied in a scientific instrument. I have a consciousness instrument.
Oh my God, I love that. Well, so we're going to talk some more. You're listening to the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll be talking more with Tom Paladino. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back on the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. I'm talking today to Tom Paladino of Scalar Light. Tom offers a 15-day trial to anyone interested in experiencing the benefits of his Scalar Light standardized program. You can learn more about that at www.scalarlight.com. That's SCALARLIGHT.com. And you can learn more about me and my 2 magazines at www.drdianehayden.com, www.naturalnutmeg.com, or www.essentialnaples.com. So thanks for being with us, Tom. We're back. And you were just saying that you have a consciousness, what did you call it? Instrument?
Consciousness instrument. Yes, I mean, every word of that. That's correct. So what am I getting at? Scalar energy is consciousness. What is scalar energy? It's the energy or intelligence that floods the universe. I have an instrument that controls scalar energy, hence I have a consciousness instrument, which is an instrument that controls the intelligence of the universe. That's why I can tell my instrument to reproduce the intelligence of riboflavin, and this is created as a result. Wow. The structural formula of riboflavin. So what does this mean to mankind? We're now in the driver's seat of nature. This is what Tesla saw. We no longer have this like casual oblique control over nature. Now we have consummate control over nature. My predecessor, Hieronymus, was able to levitate using scalar energy instruments, meaning what? You have control, mastery over gravity. If you can control gravity, you can transport yourself anywhere in the world. You don't have to worry about roads or highways or tolls or gasoline stations.
or planes or trains or automobiles.
Right.
I mean, literally, yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I think when you say, you have a consciousness instrument, I think for many people who meditate or who do healing or who've read studies about remote healing and things like that, that will help them understand what this is, because we know that we can do remote healing. That's literally, in my mind, that's been proven.
Yes.
There's enough researchers that are doing that and showing the physical effects that happen from just being the healer is in a meditative state, and they're consciously sending healing to an individual that could be on the other side of the world. And essentially, this is the same thing. It's just that you've developed a machine that does it.
Yes. Yes. So I'm proving scientifically from that vantage point that consciousness is real, that meditation is real, that there is a prana instrument. I have a prana instrument.
Yeah. And it's pretty amazing when you think about being able to I guess defy is the word, gravity. Think about what that means from an aging standpoint.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. There was a Russian inventor, his name was Grebennikov. He actually was flying around in the scalar energy platform, and he noticed when he was on this platform, time did not advance. So really, scalar energy will stop time. And if you can stop time, that's immortality.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you read into any books on all kinds of stuff like this related to consciousness, really, what is time anyway? It could like there could be parallel universes. There probably are going on right now. And so time, I think, is what we've made it.
Right.
Right. We've essentially put a calendar together, put a clock together, and we've created this. Nature doesn't know what time is.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So we're now in control, command of nature. And I mean every word of that. Scalar energy is the tool that will allow us to subdue nature, or as the book of Genesis says, to have dominion over nature. That's where we're going with this, to have dominion over nature. I mean every word of that.
Yeah, not in the sense that control meaning we're going to manipulate trees and mountains and things like that. So what do you mean when you use that word?
Yeah, it's to enhance our lives. We don't work against nature, we're working with nature. And these tools, these instruments are very powerful. And to be quite blunt, I guard the technology because it has to be used appropriately. Any tool has to be used appropriately. So I envision a world in which we're working finally in harmony with nature. Scalar energy is 100% nature. It's sunlight or starlight. This is the new way of doing things. Without interfering with nature, we're going to work hand in hand with nature. We're not going to work against nature. These are the tools of nature that I propose.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that honestly, that really is the way to take better care of this planet and to, essentially not have to worry so much about, extinction. That's what people are talking about now, which is crazy. But, and really I feel like that is the whole purpose of why we're here, is really to work together with nature and not constantly against it, or trying to be figuring out ways that just aren't sustainable, and to live our lives.
Agreed. This is the new way. Again, there's no shortage of scalar energy. So we can apply this energy anywhere in the world. We're going to not only end the energy crisis, but we're finally going to correct the problems that we've made out of manipulating nature. If we go back to nature and work hand in hand with it, there is no chemical involved with scalar energy. There is no pollution. So we're going to work hand in hand with nature, and we're going to work to the point that we can work in harmony without pollution, without having to go to war over oil. It's free energy. Mm-hmm. It solves so many problems.
It does. It really does. And that's why more people need to know about this for sure. So I want to remind everybody that you are offering a 15-day trial to anyone who's interested in experiencing the benefits of the Scalar Light Standardized Program. And people just go to your website, www.scalarlight.com. That's SCALAR light.com to learn more about that. And like I said, I just think every time I talk to you, I learn something new. I think it's fascinating. I think intuitively, we all know, what you're saying to be true. We know that there's this capability out there, that there's this energy out there, and we just have to figure out how to work with it. And it sounds like, you've done a lot of that research, and you have something that is just producing amazing results for people in India and everywhere else, for sure.
Thank you. Thanks for this audience. Thank you for listening to this new approach to wellness, quantum wellness. It won't be the last time you hear about scalar energy.
That is for sure. I'm sure. Definitely. We will have you back, and definitely want to hear more about what's happening with all of your research, for sure. Again, scalarlight.com. And thank you so much, Tom. I want to thank everybody for tuning into the Dr. Diane Show. Please join me every other Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern and 8 a.m. Pacific. Next time, we'll be discussing more about the power of thoughts and beliefs and the impact they have on your life. Have a great week, and I will see you back here next time. Thank you for tuning into the Dr. Diane Show, revolutionary expansion of mind, body, and soul with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. Tune in every Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern on transformationtalkradio.com. Center your thoughts on what you want and shut the door on every suggestion of fear, worry, or lack from your own consciousness or the consciousness around you. Once you master that, everything is possible. To learn more about me, Dr. Diane, and receive a free digital subscription of my magazine, visit naturalnutmeg.com.